Pam Bondi stepped up to the microphone with trembling lips and a voice full of righteous fury. No one saw it coming. She accused Elon Musk of something serious, something shocking, and all eyes locked onto the billionaire as the allegations poured out. Pam Bondi and Elon Musk found themselves embroiled in a complex and devious plot to frame Jasmine Crockett. The setup was simple: create a fake scandal to make Crockett appear guilty of something she didn't do. Bondi, with her experience in navigating the public eye, and Musk, known for his influence and strategic mind, concocted a plan to manipulate the situation in such a way that Crockett would take the fall for something that would severely damage her reputation. They knew that Jasmine Crockett, a rising star in the political arena and a figure admired by many for her principled stand, would naturally step in to defend Musk if allegations were made against him. After all, Musk was a public figure, and it was almost certain that Crockett, who had frequently defended truth and integrity, would not allow an innocent person to be falsely accused. The scene was set perfectly, or so they thought. Bondi, who had been carefully crafting her accusations, stepped into the spotlight with a statement meant to rattle Musk's empire. The accusation was as explosive as it was damaging. Bondi claimed that Musk had used his considerable power and influence to manipulate markets, engage in underhanded business practices, and exploit his position for personal gain. She painted a vivid picture of a man who was a master of manipulation, using his wealth and status to control situations to his advantage. Bondi's voice dripped with conviction, and every word seemed to carry weight. She was convinced that this accusation would not only get public attention but would inevitably push Musk to a defensive position. Musk, who had been known to maintain a calm and collected demeanor in the face of public criticism, sat in silence as Bondi delivered her allegations. He knew what she was doing. He knew that she was trying to bait him, force him into a situation where he would have to either confirm or deny the accusations. But Musk, ever the strategist, wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing him flustered or shaken. He remained quiet, letting Bondi's words hang in the air, knowing full well that this would create the perfect opening for Crockett to step in and defend him. Crockett, as anticipated, did not hesitate for a moment. Known for her fierce sense of justice and unwavering commitment to standing up for what was right, she took the bait. It was the moment she had been waiting for, the chance to defend a man who, at the time, seemed to be unjustly targeted. Crockett, with her sharp mind and unyielding determination, immediately began to dismantle Bondi's accusations. One by one, she pointed out the flaws in Bondi's logic, highlighting inconsistencies in her narrative that seemed to paint Musk as a villain without offering any concrete evidence to back up the claims. At first, it seemed like Bondi and Musk were on the same side. Bondi's accusations were outrageous, and Musk remained silent as Crockett rose to his defense. It seemed like a predictable course of events. Crockett would speak out, Musk would remain passive, and the narrative would continue in Bondi's favor. But what Bondi and Musk had failed to anticipate was Jasmine Crockett's ability to think on her feet and her innate ability to see through manipulation. Crockett wasn't just defending Musk, she was actively exposing the falsehoods at the core of Bondi's scheme. As Crockett began to speak, it became clear that Bondi's carefully constructed narrative was unraveling at an alarming rate. Crockett pointed out how, in the face of these serious allegations, Bondi had not provided a shred of evidence to support her claims. It wasn't just that the accusations were unsubstantiated, it was that they were framed in such a way that they could easily be used to turn the public's opinion against Musk without any real basis. Bondi's attempts to paint Musk as a villain were nothing more than smoke and mirrors, and Crockett, with her sharp reasoning and impeccable timing, was able to expose that fact in front of the world. But Bondi and Musk, in their arrogance, refused to back down. They were convinced that Crockett would continue to play into their hands. They had orchestrated this whole thing carefully, expecting her to fall into their trap. But as the exchange continued, Crockett's words began to shift the narrative entirely. What was initially an attack on Musk had suddenly become an attack on Bondi's integrity. She began to highlight the timing of Bondi's accusations, asking why these allegations were only being raised now. Was it because Musk had made a recent decision that was inconvenient for Bondi? Was there a deeper motive behind the accusations? Crockett's questions were piercing, and they began to expose the underlying agenda that Bondi and Musk were trying to hide. As Crockett pressed further, Bondi's facade began to crack. She started to look uncomfortable, and the words she had so confidently delivered just moments before now seemed flimsy and insubstantial. Musk, who had initially been quiet, was now visibly uncomfortable as well. The plan that they had worked so hard to orchestrate was slipping through their fingers, and they realized they were no longer in control of the situation. Crockett's voice grew stronger as she dug deeper, revealing the true nature of Bondi's allegations. She pointed out that Bondi's accusations weren't just baseless, they were strategically timed to discredit Musk at a moment when he was making significant strides in the business world. Crockett made it clear that Bondi's accusations weren't about justice, they were about manipulation, an attempt to control the narrative and take down a powerful figure who had become a target of political agendas. Crockett's words hit home, and the public, who had initially been swayed by Bondi's accusations, now began to question the motives behind them.
As the tension in the room mounted, Crockett delivered the final blow. She exposed the real motive behind Bondi's actions, an attempt to create a scandal that would force Musk into a position where he had no choice but to defend himself, while simultaneously discrediting Crockett in the process. It became clear to everyone that Bondi had orchestrated the entire scenario not for the sake of justice, but for personal gain. The public, once swayed by her accusations, now saw the truth for what it was. Bondi, who had thought she was in control of the situation, found herself trapped by her own lies. Musk, once silent and seemingly unaffected, now looked uneasy, realizing that his silence had allowed this plot to spiral out of control. And Crockett? She stood tall, her integrity shining through as she exposed the manipulation for all to see. What had started as a calculated attempt to frame her had turned into a public spectacle in which she emerged victorious. As the confrontation came to a close, Bondi and Musk were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered plan. The media, which had initially been captivated by Bondi's accusations, now turned their attention to the real story, the one about manipulation, deceit, and a failed attempt to trap an innocent woman. Crockett, who had entered the situation to defend Musk, had instead turned the tables on her would-be accusers, exposing their plot and making them look like the villains in the eyes of the public. In the end, it was clear that Crockett had come out on top. Bondi and Musk, who had hoped to use her for their own purposes, found themselves exposed for the manipulative forces they were. Crockett had not only defended the truth, but she had also shown the world that no amount of deception could overcome the power of integrity. Her ability to see through the lies and her quick thinking in the face of adversity had made her a hero in this story, and her unwavering commitment to justice had turned a potential scandal into a moment of triumph. If you enjoyed this riveting story of political manipulation and how Jasmine Crockett outsmarted PAM Bondi and Elon Musk, be sure to like and subscribe for more shocking moments and in-depth analyses. You won't want to miss the next story that challenges the status quo and exposes the truth. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching.